Okay, flipping the camera. What? Figured it out. Hi. So I wasn't able to, oh shoot, it's kind of funny looking. Oh well, whatever. I wasn't able to broadcast on Monday because of timing issues with rehearsal, etc. For those of you that don't know, I am currently in rehearsal for New York, I'm going to figure this darn thing out. New York City's, I'm in rehearsal for New York City's first multi-ethnic production of Proof. Classics in Color is co-producing the project with Quicksilver Theater Company. So if you're around in New York in the next 2 weeks, we open a week from today. And we play September 2nd through the 13th downtown at the 4th Street Theater. So the tickets are only $18. All right, that's the little plug. Anyways, so I wanted to work on the next step in your Shakespeare stuff. So hopefully you've had some help or you've had a little guidance in choosing your Shakespeare monologue. If you have questions, feel free to tweet at me at Classics in Color and ask questions, and I will do my best to respond in a timely manner. But you can also subscribe to these. I think you can. Can you subscribe? Yeah, you can subscribe to me on Periscope. And so when I go live, if you have a question, you can ask a question live. I have a feeling that this is all going to be sideways, isn't it? Is anybody watching? Am I sideways? Should I do it like this? I think I should do it like this. I'm going to figure this one out. You guys are going to be like so impressed. I don't know why the color is funny. Maybe my camera's dirty. Oh, I can't make this stand up on its own. Oh. What? Snap. Okay, just got it. So anyways, so I wanted to work on not really quickly, but spend this what is this, a broadcast? Spend this broadcast working on figuring out what in the world you're saying in a particular speech or monologue. So the challenge here is, there's lots of challenges, obviously. One, because it's Shakespeare, and so it's not necessarily the kind of speech that we're used to. But it is not impossible. So remember when I talked to you about the resources that might be good to have, I talked to you about the Shakespeare lexicons. I don't know if that's backwards. If it is, sorry. It probably is because the camera is flipped. Oh well, you can learn to read backwards. Shakespeare's words, a glossary. I know it's backwards, but it says Shakespeare's words backwards. Anyways. And the Ardens and the New Variorums. Anyways, I talked about that last time. So. Okay, so I thought it might be fun to work on a monologue together. So we're just going to look at the first couple of lines, and I'm going to talk you through my process. I'm going to give you options for another kind of process. So I'll give you kind of two options, two ways to really work out how to figure out what in the world you're saying. So the first option is, of course I don't have this out here, is let's do this first. The first thing you want to do is figure out what every single word that you're saying means. Now the challenging thing is that there are lots of words that Shakespeare used in his time that we still use today that meant something different back then. So it's really important that even if you think you know what a word means, outside of the word and I, etc., if you're not 100% sure, or if you think it's possible it might have meant something different back then, just look it up. It gets faster. The more you look things up, the faster you get at it. Okay, so I'm looking at Baroon. It's pronounced Baroon most of the time. Some people like to say Barone. But I'm looking at the play Love's Labour's Lost, and I'm looking at Baroon's speech in Act 3, Scene 1. line 173, although the line number might be a little iffy. The speech starts with, "And I forsooth in love." So I'm going to show you the speech on, actually I guess I can do that. What? I figured out how to turn the camera around, and well, I'm just big balling. "And I forsooth in love that I have been love's whip, a very beetle to a humorous sigh, a critic, nay, a night watch constable, a domineering pedant, or the boy." All right? So, the first thing that I would do, that we're going to do, is look up the words. So, forsooth. If you know what forsooth is, great. If you don't, no problem. Let's look it up. I know this is really fascinating, but I just want to show you what happens when you look up some words. Okay, so forsooth. This is good because it really helps your alphabet get better. Q-R-S-T. Elemento. There it is. In truth, certainly, truly, indeed. Okay. Oh, shoot, it's backwards. Just believe me, that's what it means. All right, great. We've got forsooth. "And I, forsooth, in love, I that have been love's whip." Right? So in today's world, we know a whip is to be a lashing thing. So you can just assume that that's what that means. But we all know that when you assume things, you make an ass out of you and me. Or if you're a fan of The Long Kiss Goodnight, when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and umption. You have to watch the movie to get it. All right, so let's look up the word whip. And I am using this Shakespeare's Words because that's usually my first source. All right, Shakespeare's Words. I marked them and I still can't find it. That's hilarious. W. Whip. Okay. So when you look up the word whip in here, oh shoot, here, I'm going to do it. I'm going to turn around. When you look up the word whip, yes, I am saying whip like Cool Whip. Can we focus there? There it is. You see the verb, dash, hurry, hasten, etc., right? So whip to our 10 says runs, blah, 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 blah. So then you assume that, since there's nothing else on this page, you assume that it's going to be on the next page. And really, on the next page at the very top, we get go see swearing, or see also swearing, and it tells you what page. So that is the only resource that this one has for the word whip. So we're going to go to swearing. There it is. And we are going to see swearing, the noun, act of swearing, moment of oath-taking, etc., etc. That doesn't really work with, I should be doing it this way. Sorry, guys. That doesn't really work with I have been love's whip, I've been love's oath-taker or something. That's what this one is leading us to believe. So that's when you go, what in the world are they talking about? Oh, you can't see it. So that's when you go, what in the world are they talking about? And you move to your next resource. Yes, this one, the lexicon N through Z. So I'm going to look up whip in here. And I know, cool ceiling, right? And when you look up whip here, you get, hopefully, eventually, focus, camera, focus. There it is. Whip, as substance or a thing, an instrument of correction consisting of a lash tied to a rod, right? And they actually reference metaphorically, I that have been love's W, which stands for whip, and LLL stands for love's labor's lost. In Act 3, it says line 176, which for us is a little different. So that works for our definition, right? Something, an instrument of correction, right? So Baroon is saying, with that definition, so, and I, he says, forsooth, in truth, in love, like that's crazy. How am I really truly in love. Me, I, that have been love's whip. So I'm the one that's been the putter in placer, if you will, the one that's actually been saying, no, love is stupid, love is this is stupid, love doesn't matter, love is ridiculous, it doesn't mean anything, it's, etc., etc. You can add in your own words there. So that is one way. Well, let's do a second line. All right, so I that have been love's whip, a very beetle to a humorous sigh. So I'm going to look up beetle, Beadle. It's hot in my house when I turn the air conditioning off. I'm tired. When I turn the air conditioning off so that you guys can actually hear me. I don't know why I'm making those sounds today. I'm a little crazy. Okay, so we have beetle. Parish constable is the first meaning. The second, so then we have to say a very beetle to a humorous sigh. Would he be a constable, a parish? That's kind of a weird thing. But the second meaning is punisher, chastiser, castigator. And we know that he's talking about whipping in relationship to love, and that we already know at this point in the play that Baroon thinks love is the most ridiculous thing, and he actually makes fun of people in love, and he's like, don't be stupid, especially people who fall in love at first sight, forget about it. Anyways, so we have a punisher, chastiser, castigator, and in fact, it does reference Love's Labour's Lost in that particular definition. Now, just because one of these books references that particular definition does not mean that's the definition you have to use. You can choose, if it makes sense, if it's logical, to use a different definition if you can make an educated intellectual argument for that, or for that artistic choice. So he's a chastiser to a humorous sigh, so to a loving sigh, to somebody who's like so giddy and happy because they're in love and they sigh beautifully. So what have you worked out from that? So by looking up all of those words, I only did the first two lines, and you see that did take a little bit of time, but that's also because I'm talking about it. It would take not as much time when you're doing it on your own. When you look up all those words, you really start to understand what you're saying and how you're saying it. So it's important. Somebody's calling me. I love you, Joe. I can't talk to you right now. I'm periscoping. Come on. Why aren't you watching me, Joe? Anyways, I'll call him back. Okay. It's important to understand that Shakespeare chose his words very intentionally. So the other way that lots of people like to break down what is being said is by what they call paraphrasing. And granted that what we did was a little bit of paraphrasing because we are looking for the definitions of the words that Shakespeare used and putting them in context and in our own understanding of our own working vocabulary, as it were. What you will. 12th night. Is that right? Or midsummer? I don't know. This is horrible. I'm fatigued. I'm definitely fatigued. But paraphrasing, so if we were to paraphrase, and I forsooth in love, if we were to paraphrase that, we might say, me? For reals? I'm in love? Right? That might be a way for me to paraphrase it, so that I have an understanding of Nafisa in Nafisa's words and Nafisa's working vocabulary, as it were, of what those first couple of words mean. However, I find, for me personally, and my personal technique and craft, that paraphrasing has a tendency to take me too much into a contemporary world where I'm not being specific about why I'm choosing certain words. And Shakespeare was very, very specific about choosing particular words. He said, I forsooth in love. He could have said, I truly in love. That was a word he used often. but he used forsooth. There's something about the way that that word fits in that sentence or in that question, depending on what editor you're looking at, that is specific to what he intended for this particular character. So, although and I'm not saying that one way is wrong and the other is right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just letting you know that for my process, that's what I find. I much rather look up the meaning of the words and work with that and really put those words into my own vocabulary. And that way, I am able to understand why, or I'm able to put meaning to the word choice, the very specific word choice, right? So we have a very beetle to a humorous sigh. We've got lots of stuff going on there, which we can talk about next time, just in those 2 lines. So that's the first step in understanding your Shakespeare monologue. Really, really, really taking the time to look up all of the words and take the time to look them up in multiple sources. Don't just look them up online. Don't trust Webster Dictionary, at least not by itself. If anything, use the American Heritage Dictionary, Oxford Dictionary, although I'm mad at Oxford for a lot of reasons, but whatever. Any of those, don't trust Webster. You can use them as one particular resource, but don't use them as the particular resource. Again, I encourage you to check and balance all of your research. And if you do choose to look up what you're saying in the Arden or in the New Variorum, you will also see additional discourse about those particular words and what and why, and perhaps why, or why scholars think Shakespeare chose those particular words to describe what he's describing. So we'll take some time to look at a Variorum and or an Arden next time, and then we will look at literary devices in Shakespeare and how that affects our performance of his work. I hope that this was useful, and please forgive all of the things that I may have forgotten. And I'm just thinking about 1,000,001 things right now. Please forgive all of the things that I've forgotten, my funny whatever, all of that, and my funny camera work. I'm getting better. This is Periscope number 2, choosing your Shakespeare monologue, deciphering it, and really figuring out what in the world am I saying. So feel free, again, to tweet at me, at Classics in Color, with questions, especially if you have one particular thing that you're working on. I would love to start that conversation. Thanks so much. Visit us at the website www.classicsincolor.com and tell a friend. Okay, I'm going to put this up on my YouTube page so you can share it if you want to, but you don't have to. Don't feel pressured. No, you should share it. No, don't feel pressured. No, you should share it. No, it's okay. Bye.